Well, welcome to the show, everyone. On the line, our celebrity hotline, we have from YouTube, Ivy Winter, Christine, but her YouTube channel is Ivy Winter. She's a Disney vlogger. Kathy and I watch Ivy Winter's videos all the time. Welcome to the show, Ivy Winter, Christine. I'm not sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm not sure what we should call. Should we call you Ivy Winter or Christine?
You can call me Christine.
No, I got to tell you, I was watching the other day one of your vlogs, and it really blew my mind because you were doing something that I've never seen anyone do. You were planning your next Disney vacation, which is like 3 months from now, and you have you have a spreadsheet planning pretty much almost every hour of your trip.
Yeah. So it's funny because I've actually been doing this for a while now, and realized as I was talking to more people who watch the channel that obviously I'm not the only type A planner out there.
Yeah.
So I thought, it'd be really fun to just capture my actual thinking. Like I hadn't sat down and thought about anything yet, and I just wanted to go in it, as genuinely as possible. And it was so interesting to hear the feedback. Apparently people have all kinds of color-coded spreadsheets and, things that they do. And then, of course, you've got the people who say, I would never do this. I just wing it. But, yeah, it was super fun for me to kind of share that with people. And I'm already, I've only been able to plan so much of it. And I'm already thinking about a part 2 of, like, when it really comes together. So we shall see.
I think that's part of the fun, though, because I'm kind of that way, too. And you're right. A lot of people do that. I've seen a lot of people. I know Brian says he hasn't, but I've seen a lot of people do things like that. And I think that's kind of part of the fun. But you said you don't wing it. I wanted to ask you, do you think people, back in the old days when we used to go to Disney, and Brian and I have been going since the 70s, nobody planned like this because you had one park and, you just, two out in the 80s, but you just kind of went and saw what happened. People plan so much now, these trips. Do you think it's possible to even go and just wing it these days? Like if you're going for a week, like every 3 years, or it's your big trip, is it possible just to go and just play it by ear? Or do you think people really have to have a plan?
I think because a lot of people have this idea that they want this vacation to be magical and they want it all to work out exactly how they envision it, you have to plan. If that's not your feeling, if you're happy to just go and be there and experience it, then by all means winging it is fine. But I feel like most people, they have an expectation. And I think now with how complicated it all is, you kind of have to do some of the legwork for the vacation to meet that expectation. I feel like a lot of the complaints when people come back and like, I have the coworker who comes back and goes, I should have listened. I didn't plan this. I missed out on that.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of it is just not doing the research. But I also understand how that can turn some people away.
Well,
it's definitely a tough vacation to plan. You think vacation is relaxing, and this is like anything but.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, because we all go to Disney so much. I mean, I see a lot of people at the park, and I think they don't go very often. They have no plan. They get there, they wait in line for 90 minutes for Peter Pan, 90 minutes for Space Mountain, and then the rest of the day they're walking around. They don't know what to do because they really don't know how it works, and they have no plan.
Yeah, I mean, you said those two things that made me cringe inside because I'm one of those people who's like, I will never wait 90 minutes for anything.
No.
Yeah.
But again, that has to do with planning, right? And also understanding how to spend my time. And I do think what you said is totally right. I hear people who say, well, I rode 3 rides all day and that was it. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is so great. And I think part of it is it's also that mentality that people have that to have a great vacation, you need to ride everything. And they forget that there's so many other amazing aspects to Disney. There's amazing entertainment, just taking in the atmosphere. I think trying to think of your success of a vacation by how many things you rode is just kind of the wrong way to tackle a Disney vacation.
Well,
Yeah, I agree.
Walt Disney World, because I think most people are familiar. We talk a lot about, you see the Disney rage, unfortunately, with some family. because it costs more money for a family to go to Walt Disney than it does to go to Europe a lot of times. And things don't work out as planned, and boom, they turn this great place into a
I
not
think
such a
that's
fun
the
holiday.
that's the downside of planning for a lot of people is they get so wrapped up in the plan, and and things don't always go according to plan. I always tell people to plan but be flexible. And when
Mm-hmm.
things don't go according to plan, they really get upset and they feel like their trip has been ruined. And it
Mhm.
is a lot of money and everything like that. But I want to ask you, today you did a vlog and I thought it was really interesting, and your vlog was the 5 things I don't like about Disney World. And I thought that was really interesting, and I watched it. That was from today, right?
Mhm.
I'm not getting
Yep.
the dates
Yeah,
wrong. Yeah.
yes, it was went off today.
And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of vloggers just, I don't want to be down on any vloggers, but a lot of vloggers, everything's great, everything's wonderful, everything's peachy, and they don't really give you the real story. You can love Disney and still have problems with it. Nothing's perfect. And I think that vloggers do a disservice to their viewers when they don't really say to them, not everything is, wonderful. You got to be prepared.
Yeah, I think it's definitely expectation setting.
Yes.
But it's interesting because I feel like in the community it goes either way. And I made a comment in the beginning of my video today where I said there's also that section of people who do nothing but complain about Disney.
True.
Yeah.
And so I think it's finding the balance. It's okay to say, I really do enjoy what they offer me enough that it keeps me coming back. But, I've been there enough to know that these few things could be a bit better. I think it's always good to have that sort of critical eye. It doesn't mean that I love it any less. It's just every place you go, every kind of experience, I definitely think there's always room for improvement, and Disney is not above any of that.
I agree.
One of the things you brought up in your vlog today is, to me, was hit really home. You were talking about the monorail, and the monorails have in the past been like the crown jewel of Walt Disney World, and now they're like used cars that break down all the time. And you were talking about how
I don't go on them anymore.
you're afraid.
Christine.
Yeah, you're afraid of breakdowns and don't ride them. And
Yeah.
and if I'm at the park on a hot day, I don't ride the monorail either because I'm afraid of getting stuck up there.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. I've been going to Disney since I was a kid. My first time was like 88. I was 2 years old. Went a few more times, and of course, as a kid, the monorail was so exciting, and that's all anyone ever talked about. And you used to be able to. I don't know if they still do this, but you used to be able to get up in the front with the pilot and like get a certificate.
They don't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I missed that.
It was definitely, I feel like, an attraction in of itself. And now it's just, it just feels dated, and you hear all these terrible stories. Unfortunately, it's always negative stuff that gets into the news, and you hear about breakdowns. There was that crash several years ago, and I understand, like, and this goes with a lot of things across Disney that I think could use a little sprucing up. And I understand that for them, sometimes closing something down the way it really needs to be to get it done is harder on them because of traffic flow, because of, various reasons. And I understand that, but I think it's become a big enough issue that they kind of need to really take a good look at it. And now they have the Skyliner, at least.
Yeah.
They have somewhere else people can kind of go.
Well, I agree with you. And you talked about the buses, and it used to be the bus would come every 20 minutes like clockwork. And now it's every hour. And they'll even tell you now that the resorts that are connected to the Skyliner, the bus comes every hour now, which I can understand because they have that other option. But if you're staying at a resort like the Port Orleans or any, we were there a couple years ago even, and I remember we waited for the bus like over an hour, and I was just like, God, we just should have taken our car and driven. It was never like this before. And I feel like Walt Disney would be so upset about that because transportation was such a huge part of his, of his life. That was a big thing, a big theme in the park. And I think for him, that would be like the most important thing to work on instead of adding more rides or adding new food. I think he would say, let's get the buses and the monorail. Let's get that done first. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny because as we're saying that in my head, I'm thinking like I grew up in New York And it's the same sort of thing where the infrastructure starts to get too old and doesn't meet the demand. And it's the
Yes.
same thing when you have more parks, you have more attractions. Those are all awesome. But when that starts to attract more people and you can't keep up with that demand and the infrastructure isn't up to snuff, I definitely feel like they need to kind of take a step back and look at a lot of that.
Now, another thing you do on your vlog is you have a book club, and I actually have read 2 of the books from your book club. And
Awesome.
I've got the Black Spire Outpost book now that I'm reading, and I got Bob Iger's autobiography, which you did on your book club. And although I got the audio book, I cheated, but I listened to it on my drives to and from Walt Disney World. So and now that Bob Iger is stepping down, you got to meet Bob Iger, and his story is so amazing. I had no idea everything this guy had done in his life before he became the CEO of Disney. How did you get to meet Bob Iger? It's crazy.
It's funny because I think in people's minds it's a bigger story than it actually is, or they think we hung out with him, which my friend Rob and I like to joke that we are best friends with him now. But we happened to it was during D23 weekend. So we went over there to California. It was our first D23 for the both of us. And obviously there's a lot of executives there. So we heard, you might see somebody somewhere. But we were in the cantina, and it was my first time seeing Galaxy's Edge. Mm-hmm. So I was already in that, I was geeking out. And we see somebody walk in, and one person stopped him to take a photo, but most people did not know who he was.
Oh my goodness.
That's interesting.
It kind of makes sense though, because if you're not super into Disney, you might not know what the CEO looks like, So if it was just a regular group of people, they'd have no idea. And Rob saw him first and said, "That's Bob Iger." And we're whispering to each other, and he goes to the back of the cantina. He's probably flanked by 4 or 5 other people in suits.
Yeah.
They sit down, they have a drink. We think, okay, we don't, we're not going to bother him. And then as he's making his way out, he passes by our table, and we made the move.
Oh boy.
And we said, "Bob, can we get a photo?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And Rob, thanked him for Galaxy's Edge and all of that, and then he did a quick little, "Hey, what are you guys drinking around the table?" And that was pretty much it. But it was so funny because most people were like, "Who is this guy?" And we're there just starstruck.
That's funny.
We were putting a photo on Instagram, telling everybody. It was really
no, that's pretty amazing.
Nice.
And
cool.
People should get his book, because I'm not really into reading autobiographies too much, because sometimes I think they might be self-serving, but Bob Iger's book is amazing, and this guy has done more things than anybody could possibly imagine. Now, and one thing you were talking about on your vlog today, or a couple of days ago, you were taking questions and people were talking to you about price. And, the price of the parks these days. At Galaxy's Edge here in Florida, we have this new Star Wars hotel that's going to be opening up in Galaxy's Edge, which I don't think I'll ever be able to stay in because it costs thousands of dollars
a night
per night. What are your thoughts on that, Christine? Not so much the ticket prices, but they're putting a hotel in there that I think 98% of people probably could never afford to spend a night in.
My first thought is I am going to find a way.
Yeah, I
know. Because I am a big Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah.
I have friends who are big Star Wars fans. We've collectively put our brains together of how many people can fit in a room. How can we split that cost? How can we actually make it happen? And maybe it is something that takes several years to save up for, know? I think it's interesting. I think it's definitely not for the average guest. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I really think that they're trying something different here. It sounds to me, I've been thinking of it as sort of like a cruise on land.
Yes.
Because it's sort of that package deal and it's a whole story. And I think that even the depth of that isn't going to appeal to everybody. Some people might be like, "Oh, a Star Wars hotel is cool," but they don't want to go so far in that, everything's a story or, get that involved in it. I think it's really appealing to a very niche group of people, and I think that's totally okay. I always say, like, not everything in Disney is for everybody, and that's fine too. Some people prefer a roller coaster, some people don't. It's
Yeah.
sort of the same sort of thing.
Well, you know what I kind of think? After I went on Rise of the Resistance and I saw the level of technology and
Yes.
detail and realism, I thought the same thing about the hotel, that there's going to be some way that I stay there, because I'm imagining it's equal to Rise of the Resistance in the at least in the level of technology and the total immersive experience that is just, it's hard to even describe.
Yeah, I think Rise was definitely a taste of what we're going to see.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be such a unique experience for people. And I think once you get those first few waves of people that do go and talk about it, or, on vlogs or wherever, or gets on social media with pictures or whatever they do, I think people are really going to be like, saving up or doing whatever they can if they're Star Wars fans, because I think it's just going to be so different and unique of an experience. I mean, I wish it wasn't so expensive, but it is what it is. What do you think of the new CEO?
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I know that not everybody is a fan of Bob Chapek, because he's made a few decisions. The parks, I think some people haven't loved.
Yeah.
I saw a hilarious meme on Twitter about him just putting dance parties everywhere.
Yeah.
But
is that his thing?
I do think I believe that was some of his decision making with all of the dance parties that popped up everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those.
I'm willing to give him a chance. I think we just have to see how things are going to be moving forward. I don't want to necessarily be a Debbie Downer about it. But I am going to miss Bob Iger. And even I feel like not everybody loved him, but I thought he was a pretty great CEO.
I think so, for sure.
As most CEOs, not every decision was like something that I thought was great, but for the most part, I think he really did some amazing things, not just with parks, but also entertainment. I mean,
I agree.
It's amazing where they've come.
Well, if you look at the parks in particular, Bob Iger has put a plan in place that's not going to be completed for several years. So the new CEO really isn't going to have a lot of input on a lot of those things.
He might end things. Who knows?
Oh gosh, let's hope not.
You never know.
Now, I'll tell you, Ivy Winter, we're speaking to, is her YouTube channel. You guys check her out. Make sure you subscribe. She does great videos.
Really great videos.
I'm really looking forward to your set of vlogs after your next trip, because this kind of goes into what we were talking to in the beginning. You were planning every pretty much moment of your day from the time you land until you leave, except this one day where your husband is who has really no experience about how Disney works, is going to plan your day. And I really hope you vlog
that'll be fun.
That.
Oh, I will be. Will it be fun? I think that's
maybe not.
The way we're setting it up is Rob is going to be kind of guide him. He's not going to necessarily tell him what to do, but obviously he can't plan go to Happily Ever After and then go do something else if all the parks are closed, right?
Yeah.
He kind of needs to have that understanding. But it's going to be really interesting because my husband is not the biggest Disney fan. He has gone with me to Disney World, to Disneyland. He's always open to like trying it. We're doing a Disney cruise in September. He's like, cool, I'll try that.
Yeah.
But it's part of the reason why I go down solo or, with friends, is he is just not, he was not the Disney family growing up, but it's going to be really interesting. He doesn't know anything.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not going to know the plan until the day of. That's
well, you know what?
That's the idea.
He probably won't know the plan until the day of either, from the way it sounds. So you'll be finding out together.
That'll be just kind of sit there and don't say a word and just let him lead the way and see what happens.
Now we live in Florida, although we're about 2.5, 3 hours from the parks. But I've been so many times my entire life. You grew up in New York, you live in New Jersey. How many times a year do you make it to Walt Disney World?
If I'm lucky, I think on the high end, I've been able to do 4 trips down.
That's
typically
pretty good.
I try to do at least 2. I mean, now that I'm an annual pass holder again, I had a little bit of a lapse. It definitely makes you want to come down more. Like you want to feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Sure.
Which can be dangerous thing.
Yeah.
But I do try to go anywhere between 2 to 4 times. I think it's living near New York. It's a little bit easier. We have a lot of major airports.
You do.
Yeah.
And it's only like a 2-hour flight. I mean, it's a
just
short
about
flight.
a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're usually quite cheap.
It's like a direct flight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I do feel like a lot of vloggers are based in Florida or
Yeah.
based in California, as it
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just like, hey, here's me over here in New Jersey.
Well, Christine, you're doing a great job, because I always wonder, like, people who don't have that kind of access to the park, like live in Florida or live in Orlando, you always come up with really good ideas and things to talk about.
Mhm.
How do you come up with your ideas? Because you'll do a vlog, I'll be like, wow, that's a really great topic that she's talking
For
about.
example, you did an incredible vlog recently on the bathrooms at Disney.
Which was, Brian and I thought that was great.
Yeah, I've watched it twice.
Yeah, he's taking notes, because that really is an issue for people. How do you come up with these ideas? Because they really are very clever, I have to say.
Thank you. It's a bit of a mix. I do have an amazing community who's very vocal and definitely asks great questions and gives me great ideas. So
Okay.
that's a huge part of it. The big thing for me is I want these videos to be helpful for whoever's watching them. So
Yeah.
I'd almost rather answer people's questions that I know that they have. But sometimes it could be as simple as like going on a trip and then experiencing certain things. And I use this tool called Trello, which basically lets me plan things out. And I just start kicking off ideas, and sometimes one leads into another.
Yeah.
I have an entire list of video ideas, and some I can do right away. Some it makes sense for me to wait till I'm back in the parks, But I like to sit down every once in a while and just kind of go through and think of the little things, like the best bathrooms in
Yeah.
Disney, where I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily always have a top of mind, but when it is, it's a helpful thing to know.
Absolutely. Like when you kind of think outside of the box and you talk about it, that is, I think, a huge issue for a lot of people, that have just, regular issues or health issues or anything like that. I thought it was great.
Now, you come down, you say about 2 to 4 times a year, and you stay for multiple days. It's not like, because I'm in Florida, I can go for a day or 2.
Right.
Do you vlog a huge chunk of the time you're in the parks because you're there so infrequently, or do you not vlog that much? How often do you vlog when you're actually visiting and you're in the parks?
I think it depends on who I'm with. If I'm solo, I'll probably vlog more, and I joke that it's because I'm talking to myself to keep
Yeah.
myself company.
Yeah.
But obviously, if I'm with friends or maybe meeting up with another channel, less so.
Yeah.
It just depends on how I'm trying to
Yeah,
use
that
my
makes
time.
sense.
Yeah.
I also love to, even when I'm by myself, I might go on Everest, say, vlog it, but then I'll ride it again and put my camera away.
Yeah.
I try to do what I can where I can, get content for the vlog, but also just enjoy the parks myself.
What's your
so.
favorite park, and what's your favorite ride?
Favorite park, and I can't believe I'm saying this because it used to be Epcot, but in recent years, Animal Kingdom. I love
Really?
it. I think it's a beautiful park,
Mhm.
and has just so much to do, so much to see. I love the educational spin of it. But my favorite ride, no contest, is Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah, that's
blown
amazing.
away
Yeah.
by that entire it's almost unfair to put any other ride up against it.
Well, and I'm
because it was just
excited
unbelievable.
about the Mickey's Railway, I think, and the Ratatouille, I think, are going to be, it's like this new, it's kind of like they haven't had like a lot of new rides in so long, and now they're adding all these new rides, and the technology has changed so much in the last 5 years, even, that, like you said, it's going to make the other, there's a lot to be said for the old school rides that are a lot of fun.
Of course,
But when you go on like Rise of the Resistance, or probably the new Guardians of the Galaxy or Ratatouille, it's just so vastly different than those old school rides, even though they're still fun. But like I said, the technology has changed so much. It's
Yeah.
really a marked difference.
Well, I got to tell you, Christine, we talk about riding, being on the Millennium Falcon and Smuggler's Run was like my dream. I mean, I brought my little Star Wars action figures I had as a boy
he did
on it, and I put them on the chessboard and took
Yeah.
pictures, and it was like a dream come true. And I never thought anything would top that till I went on Rise of the Resistance, and the level of technology in Rise of the
It's amazing.
Resistance. I mean, I was faint when I was walking through there. I just was so blown away.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that. I mean, they definitely have all of these great, like, how the heck did they do that moments?
Yeah.
But also just the immersion of the cast members
It's amazing.
and the roles that they're playing, and it's just you forget you're in an attraction for a moment there.
Well,
It's
yeah. It looks like you're really on an Imperial ship, and then you go in that room, and they have the stormtroopers, and then you see the life-size AT-ATs. It's amazing.
It is absolutely amazing.
So what would be, okay, we know what your favorite park, your favorite ride. What is your least favorite park? Not counting the construction at Epcot. If Epcot wasn't under construction, what is your least favorite park and least favorite ride?
Okay. It's tough because I feel like a year ago or 2 years ago, it would be easy to say Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
But now with Galaxy's Edge, it's saying least is kind of hard for me. I really do love all the parks. But I would probably say the one that I think I now spend the least amount of time in is Magic Kingdom.
Oh, really?
Maybe because it's the oldest, and because it's had the least amount of change in recent years.
That's true.
So I mean, I'm sure that'll change when Tron is open and all of that. I mean, I love the Magic Kingdom, but I just think I don't spend as much time there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, because it's really out of all the parks, they're adding Tron, but really not that much has really changed since they've done like Mine Train, which has been a while. You know what I mean? They haven't really added too, and then Tron, but that's not even ready yet.
Yeah.
So, and then what's your least favorite ride? Like, what's a ride you could just totally do without?
I get so much flack for this, but I've already done an unpopular Disney opinion on it, so it's okay. But it would probably be Journey into Imagination.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that ride.
I don't.
Wow.
Well, I don't even know if I really liked the original, because some people say, oh, well, the original was better, and that's why they dislike. I just never liked Figment, which gives me a lot of flack.
Figment is a polarizing character.
Yeah,
people either love him, or they either really love him, or they just don't get it.
I think we can put as the title of this, we can put as the title on YouTube, Ivy Winter hates Figment. That'll be great.
I'm okay with that. It's a true statement.
Yeah.
That's a pretty unpopular opinion, Ivy Winter.
No. Actually, a lot of people don't like Figment. Yeah.
Oh.
I have a couple of friends in the Disney community that don't like Figment. They don't get Figment. I personally love the guy, but it's to each his own. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's characters I can do without, and
that's okay. You don't have to like everything.
What ride are you most looking forward to that hasn't opened yet?
I think Runaway Railway. I've been hearing some cast members have seen previews already. And I like to go in as spoiler free as possible, but I have been hearing the tech there is also pretty amazing. I'm a big fan of the shorts. I know that's another weird polarizing thing, but I love the new Mickey shorts. So I'm excited to see that like sense of humor. I'm really excited for it.
Well, it's about time that Mickey has his own ride.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great ride.
I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of amazing that Mickey doesn't have a ride already at Walt Disney World.
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's taken a while. Well, listen, we've been talking to Christine, known as Ivy Winter on YouTube. Make sure you guys all subscribe to her channel. There's lots of great content. And, of course, follow the book club, too. You got to follow the book club.
And thanks so much, Christine, because we really are big fans of yours, and we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Of course, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. And hopefully we'll meet you someday.
Yeah.
I hope so. Okay, take care.
You too.
Bye.